What's up, everybody? Welcome to Nah But For Real. I'm Dave.
I'm Jazzy.
And thank y'all so much for joining us. The support has been great.
It has been awesome.
This is episode... At some point, I'm not at some point. I'm there now. I don't know what episode this is. That's fine.
This is episode 5, guys.
5. We are at episode 5. You know they say most people don't make it past 6.
Ooh.
But that ain't going to be us.
It's not.
It's not going to be us.
We got things lined up to 10, 20.
Welcome to Nah But For Real. We are excited.
We back at it.
To get back at it. We are filming 2 episodes today, so we trying to conserve energy. This is the last one, so we're going to give it to y'all real big, hopefully.
Please excuse my hyperness. A lot of energy
drinks
has been digested, so yeah.
Shout out to Nails and her lip gloss that's on the couch.
You know what?
I don't care.
It's a little raggedy, too. Let me go ahead and throw it.
I was looking at it the last time.
You get on my nerves. Why are you worried about my lip gloss? Mind your business.
I was just like, okay, it's all right.
This the bottom of the first lip gloss too. I left my good one at home.
I was like, okie doke, that's what we doing. Anyway, like I said, welcome to the podcast. We are so glad you can join us. Thank y'all so much for the support.
Thanks so much.
Nels, how's your week been?
My week has been, what's today? Saturday. It's been really busy. Yeah. Finding me time has been a struggle a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Just because busy schedule?
Busy schedule. You know, I be finding myself like forcing me time. Like, okay, I have an hour and a half to just like be. Like, and I literally will like only have an hour and a half in a day to just like be. It'd be nice to kind of like have a day or have a half a day and really like, especially what we was talking about before, just kind of like developing skills, you know, for whatever goals that you're trying to reach. A lot of times you need to be able to sit and brainstorm. We talked about planning. Planning is a very weak point of mine, but it's like, the reason is, I mean, it's an excuse. This is a 100% excuse, but where is the time to plan? Where is the time to sit down and be like, okay, you know, it's just be like trying to incorporate just not, because I am very intentional about doing nothing. That has to be a part of my week. I'm not, when I say doing nothing, doing nothing. I sometimes don't even turn on the TV. I just don't want to do anything. I just want to just sit here. Because I'm always moving, I'm always going, I'm always here, I'm always there. There's always an obligation. There are some times where I literally, like, I'm rushing somewhere where I'm always rushing somewhere, but I'm rushing somewhere and sometimes I'll just like, slow down. So slow down in your mind. Just slow down. Just slow down. Because I'll get this, like, overwhelming, like, real experience where I'm like about to have an anxiety attack or an attack.
Slow down.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, you know, and it's because I'm always on the go. And so that's why I be so intentional about just doing nothing. But like this week, like I said, I probably had maybe an hour or 2 here and there to just do absolutely nothing. All of my free time this week was dedicated to something that I have going on.
Yeah.
And I want more nothing time. For sure. So that's what I'm focused on for next week.
I think for me, I don't mind the word like planning. I like the word prioritizing.
Okay.
Prioritizing means like I'm intentional about my time, and it causes me to get my priorities straight for the week. But I'm the same boat as you. It's a very busy week. Trying to get stuff together for podcast, trying to get stuff together for the businesses, and it's just been a busy week.
Busy
also,
week.
Because
it's a blessing though. At the same time,
it's great.
I thank God for my busyness and my schedule, but
I'm grateful.
I'm just trying to balance.
I'm grateful for the busyness. I just don't want to be busy and not moving forward.
Right.
Like Denzel Washington said this so eloquently, and because he's just great. Busyness is not the same as movement.
It's not. I listen, I'm a victim of that. I'm somebody that does that for sure.
I want to move forward. That's what I want.
Productivity.
So,
productivity.
Absolutely. So, Nils.
So, getting to know Dave and Jazz. Mm-hmm. That's the name of this segment for now. It may change. But all right, let's get to the question.
Yeah.
Ooh. Do you want me to?
Ask anyway. I don't care.
No.
Okay.
Okay. This is a little off the charts, but we're going to ask it. Do you watch porn? If so, what's your favorite kind to watch? Do you
Wasn't
feel
expecting that one. Woo.
what's your favorite kind to watch? Wow. Do you feel porn is appropriate to view while in a relationship? Okay, I like that question. I like that.
Do I watch porn? The answer is no. Have I watched porn? The answer is yeah. What? What? Yeah. Um,
But the
was
question is,
there a
do you?
specific kind that I like? No.
Oh, do you feel it's appropriate in a relationship?
Um, is there a specific kind I like? No. 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 I don't like Asian porn. No.
You don't have a fetish for like Latinas and saying papi.
No. No,
You
I
can be
don't.
honest, Dave.
Um,
It's okay.
I will say I did. I did.
Yeah,
When
yeah. Go
when I
ahead. Tell the
did.
truth.
Don't try to trip me up. When I was watching
Listen, I know men, okay?
when I was watching it, a woman who speaks a different language, just I don't know why, it just did something for me.
I've
Anyway,
heard that's why people like. I've heard learned recently. This is why men like strippers because of the way they talk to you. They know how to talk to you.
no,
Like they know how to.
no, they don't.
They don't. Okay,
At least
I don't
not the
know.
ones in Dayton.
I have never been around a stripper that's
I've only
talking.
been
So
to
she was only twerking.
I've only been to 2 strip clubs in my life.
I haven't been that many either.
The first time I went, I got a free lap dance because I sung to her.
I know that's right.
I used my gift to get a free.
Use your gift to get the gift from her.
I got a free lap dance because I used my gift.
How was that?
Of singing. I enjoyed it. It was great.
I bet you did.
Drop some ones. It was cool. I don't care.
You crazy, Dad.
And then I went to another one in Chicago, which was a waste of my time.
Yeah, some strip clubs.
But that was years ago. I ain't been back since. Would I ever go again? Maybe. Anyway.
Yeah, nah, I know anyway. He'll be back.
No. Do I think porn? What was it? Necessary or?
How do you? Yeah, it's like how do I view? Do you feel is it appropriate while you're in a relationship?
Appropriate?
Like, is that kind of like something you shouldn't do when you're in a relationship, or is it okay?
For me, it's not appropriate because I think what porn does is, without you even knowing it psychologically, it makes you want what you see in porn, and sex is just not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think trying certain positions, doing certain fetishes, and if it's not going to work for your relationship, like you can always, and you should always.
What do you
be
mean
open.
it's not going to work? Like certain
if
positions.
if your partner is not open to doing these certain things.
So is that not like a? How does that work when you're in a relation, when you're married or in a relationship and you have sexual desires and your partner doesn't want to fulfill them? Is that a deal breaker?
It doesn't have to be. It's a conversation first. Like, hey, I want to try this. You can't force that on your partner at all. Like, if they're open to doing it, have that conversation. If they are not, no means no.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do. And so, for me, it's not a deal breaker.
That's what's up.
At all. But do I think it's, and like porn is so fake. It's literally a set, and they have to maneuver certain ways that people really don't have sex. Like,
well, some porn you see. You see the sex is happening. For real.
no, it's happening for real. What I'm saying is, it's a setup. They're acting.
Yeah.
Like, it's still the act of sex, but it's like, okay, stop mid pump, and then like, okay, shift your body this way, and then like turn this way, and it's weird. Like, people who do like actors in movies, when they do sex scenes, they say it's the most awkward thing
I believe
in the
it. Why
world
wouldn't it
because it's
be?
like 30 people in the room, and you're supposed to be acting out this intimate thing, and
Yeah, I
it's
think Lala
so
said that.
awkward.
She was like, it's not what you see. What you see is not what it is. She's saying, like,
No,
like, because people will think that there's like, because I think the conversation was about actors being in relationships and like having to deal with their husband or wife being in a sex scene with this other actor who's actually looks really good. And,
yeah,
and she was just kind of saying, like, what you see is not what it is. Like, we are not really like having a moment together. We're just moving how the set is telling us to move. We're doing this, we're doing that.
right,
We're performing, literally
yeah,
performing. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to bring up
yeah.
because
I think as far as porn though, I don't think
it's a performance,
it's a
100%.
performance, and sometimes and like porn videos can go for like 30 something minutes. I'm telling you now, I ain't going for 30 something minutes. You out your further mucking mind
I do
if
not
you
like
think I'm going for 30.
long sex.
No, I got stuff to do.
I just don't. First of all, I
I
just feel
have
like
things to
why?
do.
Why? What is the point of that? Like, I don't know.
Like if you can't get to a certain point
Right,
along with
like,
me, that ain't my fault.
listen, you
It ain't my fault that I'm quick. Like, you know? Now, like the sex part is quick. Now there's foreplay that, prolongs things.
uh
But penetration part, I got stuff to
There's only
do.
so much.
It's only
It's only so
so
much that's gonna
much
happen here.
that's gonna happen. And then like I'm not in shape. So I'm tired.
These are all our
Like
accountability, opportunities, Dave. Just so you know.
this is me being accountable. Like my thing is,
Hmm.
I can get in shape. However,
Right.
I don't like me certain cardio I'll do. Like I love dancing. Dancing is great cardio. Do I like running? No.
I love running.
I hate running, but I
Oh, it's
I
so
will
peaceful.
dance my butt off
It is
though.
such a stress reliever.
I don't like running. I'll go on a hike though. I'll do that. But like my point
I want to
is
go on a hike.
I'm the fact that I don't like cardio means my stamina ain't all the way up there. So I will
I
foreplay the
just want a
crap.
quickie.
I will foreplay all day. I will put you in your mental. Like you will be ready. And by the time I penetrate, you got about 10, 15 minutes. 10, 15
That's
minutes.
perfect. I
And
don't need no more than that.
and
Please don't do the 30 to an
we
hour to an hour and a half.
man,
What is
I
wrong
was
with
about
you?
to
I'm gonna be looking at you like,
I was
what is
about to
going
say
on?
something. I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, somebody was like, that's it.
Yeah, like the whole
And
1 minute man thing. Like,
I was like,
who
like,
cares?
yes. Like, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. That's
Right?
it. What about
That's
you?
how I look at
How do
it.
you feel about the porns?
Do I watch porn? No. Do I? Well, if I watched it, yes. If there's a certain particular, I mean, if I was to choose, like if I was a porn person and if I was to choose, I think they would have to be
Was
black.
a porn person.
I mean, like if a person that likes to watch porn, like honestly, porn doesn't do
You
anything for
porn
me.
people.
It doesn't do anything for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I've watched it before. I've tried to, and I'm just like, this doesn't. I don't know. Watching other people have sex, like it's just not my thing. Like I don't even like sex scenes on movies. Like I fast forward those. It's just like not. I don't want to watch other people
It's
have
weird when
sex.
it's long.
Yeah,
Like very like I don't need to see
I
all
don't like. I
the
don't want to watch you have sex. I don't want to watch other people. People enjoy watching people have sex. I do not. I do not enjoy that. I can enjoy a moment with another person in a sexual sense, but I am not. I don't want to watch it. I don't know why. I don't know why. I never
so
really
you
asked
don't
myself
think
that.
it's appropriate for a relationship?
I think it's appropriate for relationships that watch it together. You know what I'm saying? Like if
Yeah.
if you guys are really sexual and you guys want to try different things and you
Yeah.
get something out of watching it and you're watching it together and it's a together thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's inappropriate when it's like, your partner feels a way about it, or if it
Right.
somehow affects you because of, men will, I always do this men women thing, but whatever. From my experiences, they'll, masturbate from it. That can affect your sexual performance with your mate. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you are having all these sexual moments without your partner, how does that help your sexual moments with your partner? You know, if it does, okay, but I think there could be some negative effects to that.
Mm,
So that to me will make it inappropriate. I'm not saying it's inappropriate. I don't think I would really care if my partner was watching it unless I felt like it was affecting what we had going on.
right,
You know, like if you were wanting, you know, me to do things that I literally can't physically do, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Like I don't
right.
know. But yeah. And like I don't know. I am not like, listen, I tell men in the beginning there are restrictions to sex with me.
Yeah,
That's a literally a first date conversation because I want you to know like there is a limitation that I'm gonna go with sex. You're not gonna be able to convince me to do this and do that. Like there are non-negotiables when it comes to sex.
yeah.
So
There's a book I'm reading right now called "Marriage Be Hard" by Kevin Stage and Melissa Fredericks, his wife. And they call it like the traffic light something. I can't remember the proper name, but
mhm,
there's like the red, yellow, and green. Like red means definite stop. Yellow means I'll think about it. Green means absolutely. So if I'm approaching my wife like I want to try this, she'd
mhm.
be like, red light,
Right.
not happening.
Yeah.
Yellow light is all right. We'll
Maybe.
we'll try. Think about it. Maybe green light is
Let's
let's
go.
go.
When you want to do
Right. And
it.
so I think that's a helpful tactic. Like as
Yeah.
long as you respect their boundaries of sex, then it's cool. I just don't think you know if you're watching porn and your partner is like ain't about that life, it's gonna be kind of tough.
Yeah.
To yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess I have some more things to say, but we just gonna let that go
No,
for it.
say it.
No, it done left me anyway. And you know how I get. I get long winded. We start
You
talking.
so funny.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
it's okay.
Nels. What we talking about today?
Today we're gonna talk about self esteem and self worth, and pretty much how we view it. What is self worth? What is self esteem? How does that play in your life right now? How does that play into your personal development?
Mm-hmm.
I watched a TED talk the other day about uh, the difference between self esteem and self worth. And I loved how she explained it. I mean, she had a longer explanation, but she simplified it to self worth being internal, self esteem being external. So, more so like self worth is who you are, and self esteem is what you do. So, you can boost your self esteem by things that you do. Like maybe this podcast can boost my self esteem,
Right.
but my self worth is about who I am
Right.
and who I become. Maybe the results of my personal development will help my self worth. But, you know, the podcast itself and being able to reach certain people and being able to do certain things for myself, that is more so towards my self esteem. So I like the way she broke that down. Um, so I want to talk about self worth. What comes to your mind when you think about self worth? Do you really feel like you have that, and did you always have it?
No, I feel like the more you develop as just a human being, the more you will find out your self worth and your self esteem. Um, Personally, I used to think very, very, very low of myself. I had very low self esteem. I didn't know my worth as a kid. Um, Most people wouldn't believe that now because I'm very confident in myself.
Hmm.
But when I was a kid, I used to think I was the ugliest kid in the world.
Mm.
I used
Where
to,
did that come from?
I don't know, probably just, kids being kids, girls calling you ugly, all this stuff. So my mother, she's just dope,
Hmm.
used to pick me up as a kid, have me face the mirror and say, hey, and she would tell me, she said, say, hey, good looking every morning before school. And every morning, I would look in the mirror and say, hey, good looking every morning until it didn't matter what they called me. Today, I will hype myself up and be like, hey, nigga, you looking good today. Like nobody else tells you, you tell yourself. And now my mom thinks I'm conceited, but I blame her. I'm not conceited. I know I look good, and that's just it. Um, but it took a very long time to develop my self esteem. Took a long time to develop my self worth. Um, and one thing I found out, you can't put a price on people.
Yeah.
You can't. And if you feel like people can, it's because you've put a price on yourself. Like you think your worth comes from everybody else.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to I think that talking about self-worth versus self-esteem is a great distinction because you'll see people who's great on paper or who's great at what they do,
Yeah.
but they lack self-worth still. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or they lack, feeling confident. Cause I mean, self-worth is I feel like it's very directly related to confidence, whereas self-esteem is more so I feel like it's confidence, but like I said, I feel like it's confidence that you externalize and not really something that it's not separate from who you are.
Let me ask you the same question. Were you or are you, right now,
Do I
you
feel
know,
worthy?
do you feel where's your self-worth or self-esteem?
Um, that's a really that's one of those questions that I'm asking myself right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where my self-worth is. How I'm looking at it, I'm looking at my life, the things I've went through, the things I've allowed myself to go through, and I'm using those experiences to kind of determine where my self-worth is. So I don't really have an answer for that today, which I probably should, right? But
No,
I
no,
guess
no,
I'm
no, no, no.
in
Uh-uh.
I guess I'm in that mode where I'm like, okay, do I feel worthy? Do we even ask ourselves this question, guys? Do we ever ask ourselves, am I worthy? Do I feel worthy? Like, are we intentional about being worthy? Because is that a thing, like growing up, like how you say your mom did that, but how many moms you think did that? You probably was really blessed to have a mom to do that
Oh yeah, absolutely.
because moms ain't doing that. Like they ain't doing it to themselves. So is it something that we're taught to do, to feel worthy, to practice self-worth, to practice confidence, to know who you are? Is these conversations that we're having? Are we having these with our children? Do we have these conversations with our parents? So I think it's great to kind of talk about this because it's almost like it doesn't really exist. You know what I mean? Or if it does exist, it exists in a way that it's more external. Um, it's not more internal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you break someone apart, do they really feel worthy? And I feel like I said, when if we're talking about me, I can say I feel worthy, like right now, today, at this moment. Yes, I can say I feel worthy, but if I go back and look at my decisions, is there times where I may self destruct? Is there times where I accept something that's beneath me? Is there times where, I would say yes? There are those times. So I can say I feel worthy, but I also have to look at the reality of what I do and my experiences and what I allow in my life and be honest with myself. Like maybe I don't. You know what I'm saying? Maybe my self-worth is not something that's important to me, that hasn't been important to me. And that's why the conversation is here, because now it's time to start thinking, do you even love yourself?
Yeah.
I one person that talks about this all the time is my daughter's dad. And he talks about that all the time, like loving yourself. Can you really say you honestly love yourself if you're a habitual drug user? You know what I mean? Like if you're never sober, or, can you really honestly say that you love yourself if those are the things you do? Because you'll have people that have all of these habits that is really destructing them,
Hmm.
or causing them to do certain things, but they'll turn around and be like, well, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy,
Right.
or, um, yeah. So I don't know. Do I feel worthy? I can say I feel worthy, but when I relate my feelings to reality, I think there's opportunity for me to actually practice self-worth and be more intentional about it. So I can say I guess looking at my life and what even drove me to even want to do this podcast, no, I don't think that I felt worthy my whole life. You know, I felt like I deserved some of the things that happened to me. And we're going to talk about trauma later on in the podcast and the episode. So I don't want to dive into trauma right now. But we know that that could play a big role in self worth and
Yeah.
all of that, and which is the reason why it's important to be intentional about it, right? Because things can happen that can not help your self worth. And then it makes your self worth non-existent, and then it's basically non-existent, so it's not something that you think about, it's not something that and then you're just going around basing things off feelings instead of the logic of the situation or the reality of the situation. So I'm here to be vulnerable and open, and to say that I definitely need to create a space for feeling worthy,
Yeah.
create a space for making sure that I am being really intentional about knowing my self worth. And I think that, it's still a beautiful thing, to not feel worthy, because you're able to reflect. It gives you the opportunity to reflect and say, okay, loving myself is not just a feeling, it's actions. It's the actions that you take. It's the boundaries, not having boundaries, that's, I feel like, a lack of self worth. You just
Yeah.
let anything happen. That's a lack of self worth. And a lot of us lack boundaries, even in relationships. Sometimes we get so
Yes.
attached to the relationship, our self worth is diminishing, and we're not even realizing that, because we're not spending time with self and making sure self is taken care of. So, no, I would say no. I do not feel worthy based on my life, and I'm trying to get there. That's
That
where I'm at.
honestly shocks me to hear you say that.
Does it?
Yeah. Because you I guess I'll say this. I see the worth in you, even if you don't. Like, if I if I didn't, we wouldn't be doing this
Right.
podcast right now. But and that's okay too, for not for somebody else to see it in you and you not see it in yourself.
Yeah.
Which is why it's the beautiful when two people can come together and they will bring that out of you. Like,
Yes.
when I say it shocks me, it's because I see so much in Nails, and I see the potential in her, and I see the greatness in her.
Oh.
Um, and I want her. However, I don't want it just me singing for her. I want to help her get to a place where you see it in yourself.
Right.
And I look forward to celebrating that day when it happens.
For
And
sure. And
um,
it it comes from your surroundings when you think about it. Like, just like
yeah,
how you said, your mom made you become self worthy.
and it doesn't mean I don't question it sometimes. Like, when I
Right.
say being and we'll talk about entrepreneurship another time, but
Mm-hmm.
being where I am right now, I know I'm worthy of being here, not because of my own doing.
Right.
It's because I know God walks with me. He talks with me. Really, that's where my identity comes from, is in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's through Him that I am able to do the work,
Right.
to see it within myself. So even if I do question it, I'm quickly reminded, like, no, Dave, like, you've done the work to get to this point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're right, it is based on your surroundings. Like, I've surrounded myself with people who believe in me and who see in me what I see in you.
Right.
And when you surround yourself with people like that, you have no choice but at some point to start believing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? You was right. You was right this whole time. And so, all that to
Yes.
say, yeah, it's one, yes, I am shocked to hear you say that. But also, I want to I want to speak life into you, and be just a voice and a body that really sees helps you see what I see.
And I can honestly say that's the reason I'm here, because one, I knew that from the very moment that you DM'd me and asked me to be on the podcast. I was shocked to for somebody to actually want me to be on their platform. I'm just like, what? You know what I'm saying? So I already knew, like, okay, why wouldn't I dive into someone or invest my time into someone who sees me? That's me, walking into my self-worth, which is just partnering with someone who sees me.
Yeah.
That's important. Going back to the TED talk that I watched, she talked about how her self-worth, how it basically how she didn't feel self-worth.
Right.
It came from her being a Black woman at an all-white school. So
Yeah.
that's a topic I feel like we can touch on real quick.
Yeah.
How do you feel about parents wanting the best for their kids and pushing them into environments that could potentially harm their self-esteem like that? Like, she probably went to like a private school or something like that, bunch of rich white kids. She's a, regular, what is it, low income or medium income,
Right.
Black kid, hair is different. Everything about her culture is different. And she has to live through that. And she said when her living through that really, really hurt her self-esteem. So that points to your surroundings being a very big role,
Yeah.
playing a very big role in your self-esteem, which is why why we're talking about this, because one, we've already established in the first episode that we need people, and it's delusional to think that you don't, right? But also, it points to, dang, do parents, I mean, obviously parents play a role in our self-worth. I'm not going to say that. But can parents sometimes do things that they think help us, but it's really not helping us?
Yeah. Because one thing and I'm not a parent, but one thing I believe, your parents can only teach you what they know, what they've been taught. And if, let's say, for example, the whole go to college, be successful thing, right? A lot of parents will push that on their kids
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they were taught.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't go to college, it's like this big deal. Like, oh, you didn't go to college.
Right.
What do you mean you didn't go? You need a good job and blah, blah, blah. And that may not necessarily be what the child wants when they get
Right.
to that point.
Right.
I do think the direction of a parent is necessary.
Yes.
It's
The
absolutely
guidance needs to be
necessary.
there.
The guidance and development needs to be there.
Uh-huh.
I think, to place your child in an environment, which is why you must pay attention to your children. Your child will tell you, even if they don't tell you, if they want to be there. For example, I thought I wanted to play the violin. I have no idea
Aw.
why.
That's so cute, though.
However,
I wanted to play an instrument too.
it wasn't my thing. And I quit like
Yeah.
in like 3 months. I thought I wanted to wrestle because my brother wrestled. So my mom put me in wrestling. It wasn't my thing. And my mom knew it wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, you don't really care to be here, do you? And I was like, no.
Right.
But my mom, when she saw that I had a love for music and singing and dancing, she put me in certain positions
Mm-hmm.
to develop that in me. Like,
Yeah.
but that's only because, she paid attention, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
What about you?
So I just think when it comes to, it's tough, because you can understand a parent's intention when they're throwing their kids into private schools, where it's predominantly white. Um, and I can see the intention there. You're trying to give them the best of the best, I guess. But I guess there is this question of, are we conditioned to believe the best of the best is to do what white people do and to get pushed where white people are at and to be where white people are at, and everything a white person does we should do? because they're successful and we're not, and we're supposed to. So I think there's a balance
We
that
live.
we have to find where we're trying to push our kids to success, but at the same time, let's stop identifying success as what white people are doing or what, however white people got to success. And I'm not trying to make this a race thing, but
Well, we live in America, so it's always going
yeah,
to be a race
and
thing.
I've never been the type of parent where I want my kid to go to a predominantly white school because I already know how that's going to be.
Yeah.
And we're talking about self-worth here. How self-worth, I mean, when you think about what it comes from, especially when it comes to your surroundings, you're comparing yourself.
Yes. And
So
comparison is the thief of joy.
yes, so
Yeah.
it's like, and then it's not even that you're comparing yourself. You don't have a choice but to compare yourself because that's exactly
That's
what white
all.
people are going to do as soon as you walk in that school building.
And you're always going to be what you've seen. It's hard for people to be what they haven't seen.
Right,
And it's one of those things where most people think their identity comes from what they do.
right.
Your identity doesn't. I am not.
What I do.
I do a lot of things, but my identity is in who I am, not in what I
Right,
do. I am more than what I do. It's like with
right,
LeBron James, more than an athlete thing.
right.
The whole shut up and dribble. Like he's not just a basketball
He's a
player.
whole human being with
Like at
thoughts and
the core of who
morals
he
and
is,
values.
yeah, he's a human being first.
Right.
Then you stack on top of that, then he is a husband, then he's a father.
Mm-hmm.
Like all that comes before being a basketball player.
Right. And I think also when it comes to throwing our kids in these high-end schools,
Yeah.
it really speaks to what we feel self-worth is by, like you said, by the doing of, or I just feel like, why would we want our kids to go to a predominantly white school if we already felt self-worth from who we are, from
Mhm.
what we can accomplish as Blacks, as Black Americans or whatever, is our self-worth as Black people. You know what I'm saying? Or African Americans, is our self-worth dependent on the approval of white people?
I think
I think we're getting away from that, but
yes, I was just about to say. I think we're
we
getting
can
away from
honestly
that.
say,
But the construct of America
mhm,
is, if I want to be successful in America, I have to go through a white person.
right,
So if you are not careful, if you don't know who you are, your identity will become that.
mhm,
To be successful, or I have to code switch to get to this particular place. When for me, I don't code switch wherever I go. I'm just gonna be me. Like if you don't like it,
right.
I don't care. Cause I work.
Like how we talk about how we do interviews and we turn on our white voice. I
Yeah.
don't believe in that no more.
I never did that, which is probably why I didn't.
Listen, I definitely have my white voice.
Which is probably why I didn't get hired at a lot of places.
Me either.
Which is why I know I'm an entrepreneur. Like I don't.
Right. Yep.
I don't put on for nobody. Like I work at a predominantly white place. And when I say,
And I'm Black, baby.
I don't code switch, I wear J's, I wear a fitted cap.
You gonna get this culture.
I am the culture in this predominantly white place. And they accept it. But if I didn't know who I was completely, I would wear a cardigan,
yep,
with some loafers.
We've all been there.
And
because that's what we were taught. And
yeah.
it, like I said, it speaks to our self-worth as a community, our self-worth as Black individuals, I'm glad to see that there's already a shift between us needing the a white person's approval to feel self-worth. Now we're really feeling the self-worth in our community, because it's always, let's be clear, it's always been there, right? What would a lot of these businesses be without us? You know what I'm saying? Like these big,
right,
high-end paid jobs. Black people are you know what I'm saying? They're the ones that's making this happen. The basketball.
True.
They're the ones that's actually doing this. The musicians. You know what I'm saying? So we've always had that self-worth, but I don't think we've ever internalized it because And like I said, just looking at reality,
Even
we
black women,
push
it's even a more extra push.
right,
Even as black
right.
women, like black women have to fight tooth and nail to even get half of what black men and white women have.
So go into further detail for me.
So I'll take I was just watching this video of Viola Davis, right? And she produced the movie Woman King. She said that she
Oh,
had
I didn't
to
know she was a producer. That's
yeah,
what's up.
she had to fight to get that movie made because the studios told her, asked her, how does this relate to white men? They asked her that.
Why is it supposed to?
Like they were like, how do you think white men are going to accept this movie? And
I don't care.
it's like who cares? It's not even about.
It's not even for
It's not
y'all.
for y'all. But you know, if if it was white people, a movie about white people, the same movie
We're
we
not
see.
asking what do black people are going to feel about it.
No,
Right.
you know they don't ask them questions. They won't even a black man. They
So how does that relate to her being a black woman? Do you think that wouldn't have happened if it was a black male producer? Do you think they would?
no
Oh, okay.
no
Okay. I can see that. I can see that.
mm-mm. Because the like I said, the construct of America. If you a man, you already halfway in there. If you are a white man, you all the way in there. White woman, you in there. Black man, halfway. Black woman, you gotta you gotta fight to get in there. And it's not fair that black women have to do 5 times the work, not just to get paid as much, but just to get something done.
And I think that goes back to needing a white man's approval. Because
Right.
like, okay, do we really have to do twice the work? Or because we want to be on this big screen where a white person owns it, is that the reason why? Because there's another way of looking at that, right? Like,
Yeah.
because we'll have that conversation all the time, and I mean, I can't tell people how to spend their money and how to do things, but we'll talk about rich and wealthy black people, and what are they really doing to kind of like help our community really have a voice without the having to go through all of that. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, I think one creative that's big on that is Issa Rae. She talks about that all the time, where
Yeah.
she's like, I'm going to give black people a platform, period, just
Right.
because they're black and just because, that's, we don't see that. We see it having to be stamped, by, whoever's owning the network or however it works. I don't know that however it works, but we can, I know it's kind of a easy, simple thing to say and not so easy to do, but there are ways to kind of stand on our own. And that goes back to self-worth. I feel like even as a big time talented producer and actress, we still don't know how to maneuver with just within our culture.
I
It
think
still has to go through.
I want
Which
I agree with
it's
you to
easier
an
said than
extent.
done. I know.
I agree with you to an extent. I think we do know how to move within the culture. The problem is within the culture, it only goes so far.
Exactly. But does it only go so far because that's what we choose?
No, we don't choose it. That's just the construct of
So
how
we're
it
so
is.
we're saying that it only goes so far and that's okay. So we're just going to accept that there's no way to break that barrier.
I'm not sure.
It's not.
And
It's really not a right or wrong answer. It's
I
just a
think
thought.
I think that I'm a movie guy, so I'm going to use this example again. Will Packer was talking about
I
how
don't even know what that is.
the guy who did the movie from Steve Harvey's book, Think Like a Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did that movie.
Okay.
His first movie, studios that owned by white men, these big, prime time studios would not give him the time of day. So what he did was, because he knew He believed in himself. That's where it starts. It starts with the belief in yourself and believing in knowing who you are. What he did was he got a car, packed up the car with a few other people who believed in the film, and went on a tour to promote this movie. He said, "Hey," and it's called the Chitlin Circuit for a reason, where you go to different black towns and you promote your movie or whatever that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he would pass out flyers. And the movie did so well, then the white people came knocking at the door.
Mm.
So it's not that we can't move the needle. I think because of, if you are someone who wants a more diverse audience, I will put it that way,
Mm-hmm.
then there is another step that is very hard to get to.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely hard. I don't know if it's possible. I talk about that all the time. I have these debates all the time where we're in a shift right now as black African Americans where we do want our own. We don't want to
Yeah.
we don't want to be under the constraint of the European system. And there is talk about group economics and having our own this and having our own that. How can we get reparations? How can we get our own land? How can we get our own grocery stores, our own banks, our own this, our own that? But there is there is this belief in some people's eyes, right, that this can happen, right, where blacks can really stand alone.
I don't think it's completely impossible.
I'm leaning more towards it being impossible in America.
True.
I don't know if you can really, because even like when people say owning land, you don't really own that land though when you think about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you really? You might control it. There's a difference between controlling something and actually owning something. You always going to have to pay, like the fact that you pay property taxes tell you right there that you don't own that. You know what I'm saying? You don't own it.
And I mean,
you have to pay to stay. You have to pay to own it.
We saw.
You have to pay to control it.
You see what happened when black people, we got to a certain place where we did have ownership. We didn't own the land, but we had our own businesses. We saw that in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, absolutely.
And they bombed that,
burned it down, baby.
down.
And that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Is it really possible to be an independent black community in America? I don't know. I hate to be that pessimistic, because I know that there are people right now that's working towards it. We talked about Umar Johnson in the last episode. He's 100% working towards that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But is it really possible? Look how long it's taken them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
school, you know what I mean? Like and even with the school, I'm sure white people gonna have their hands in it. Because they gonna always have their hands in it. Because, you know what I mean? They have the power, and I know that's kind of a mentality thing, but at the same time, it's kind of a technical thing. Unfortunately, this is how America is, and in other, in Africa, I can see it being different. In America, I don't have that much confidence to believe that we can actually stand on our own here.
Not until we, it's not and this is the thing, I'm going to talk about racism really quick, because we're on this subject. I don't think racism will end until white people reconstruct America.
Right.
The foundation of America.
The foundation of America is to
my thing is people
shift it towards white supremacy.
Because if you think black people are going to change racism, we're not. We didn't start racism.
Right.
So how can we?
We can't end it. They'd have to end it.
We was minding our own business.
But they don't benefit from ending racism. So
no, they don't.
Why would they end it? Again, that goes back to, is America really for us? Is it really for our independence?
No.
So why would we try to fight that here? There's people who speak against the civil rights movement. Ooh. But Dave, it's a good conversation. Because did the civil rights movement really help us?
Yes. I would say.
It helped us on this soil, on this on in this world.
I
I
would
mean, in
say,
America.
but
But could we have just left and
can
went
I?
back
I'm
and
gonna be
just
honest. I think it changed because white people started to get hurt who were joining us. That's why I think it changed. We had allies, but the moment they start getting shot up and all this stuff because they were an ally, they're like, white people are dying for the blacks. We got to change something.
and it's like they changed things, but did it really change? We can go on and on. This is almost
We get, we
a
ain't even
whole
on
nother
the subject of
episode.
self worth.
I think it does. I think it
But it
does speak
does
to our
play
self-worth
into
because
self worth. Yeah,
yeah, because I mean, self-worth, where do you think that even like okay, because that's what I was going to get into. Like, do we now I want us to change the conversation of because I feel like right now we more so practice self-destruction and we don't practice self-worth. And I think that's a generational curse in a way. If we talk about, we can go back to slavery and talk about dark skin versus light skin, or there's so many things that was put into us,
yeah.
and that was that was transferred down to passed down from generation to generation to generation. Is self-worth even a part of us? Is it even a part of our generation? I feel like now, we're on this. We're talking about how blacks or African Americans have to deal with racism in America. But I feel like that plays so much of a role in our self-worth because now we're trying to get it back. We're trying to get it back. We haven't had it. We have literally been practicing destruction in a way. So I don't know. I just think we can go on and on about this topic. We can go deep and deep into the history. And I guess the message is, self-worth is something that it needs to be practiced.
Honestly, though, we like you said, we can talk about the race thing. My identity doesn't even come from being and some people may be offended by this. That's fine.
Being black?
My identity isn't solely from being black. My identity comes from me doing the work of who I am.
I think America makes black a part of our identity more than we do. We don't make it a part of our identity. We only make it a part of our identity because they make it a part of our identity. They make us face our blackness, which is
Yeah.
whatever they decide our blackness is. You know what I
Now
mean?
it plays. I would say it plays a part. You know, of me knowing who I am. But I think I don't like everything black people like. I don't like
No, this isn't about agreeing with others. This is about
it's really and some people think that's where the identity comes from. Like you have to agree with everything, and it's like that's
right.
not.
Like you can't like pumpkin pie, and
Yeah, like I like
you
both.
really can't like pumpkin pie. I know, I'm just playing.
I like sweet potato
I
pie.
don't.
I have a preference,
I
but
really prefer sweet potato pie, but I can eat some pumpkin pie though. It ain't nasty.
yeah, it's not. I just have a
There's a difference
preference.
though.
That's all. But what I will say is, speaking personally, I don't. My identity comes from, like I said, the Lord and knowing who I am, and also knowing who I am as a black man. Like I said, it plays a part of it, but it's not the foundation of me knowing who I am.
Yeah. So I guess we're just saying, guys, self-worth is important. And, just talking about how racism plays a role. I feel like racism definitely plays a role in our self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely it does. And I feel like because we know these things and we can bring these things up and we can talk about these things, now we really understand the importance of being intentional about feeling worthy. Because I think a lot of us will cope and we won't try to actually break through and become. We'll actually just cope. Like I said, I feel like we practice self-destruction a lot. And I think that leads to mental illness. So feeling worthy or feeling unworthy can actually, lead to mental illnesses. And drug abuse is technically a illness.
Yeah.
Drug abuse is an illness. And, we'll have a lot of people that claim that they're practicing self worth, but they're destructing every day. If they're a consistent drug abuser, lack of self worth can lead to depression and anxiety, and all of these things. It, if we're shifting to how this affect our love life. I mean, do we even have to say, how it affects our love life?
Listen.
Our self destruction is affecting our
Yes.
decisions.
Yes.
And I don't know if we realize this, and it's not even that we realize this. We can realize it all day, but when are we going to decide, like, okay, now I'm going to practice loving myself for real?
And loving yourself comes from taking the time to know yourself
Taking the time to know yourself and treating
and
yourself
treating yourself
well,
with
treating
grace.
your body
And
well.
and I'll say this: it's absolutely hard for anybody to be in a relationship with anybody who doesn't know who they are. Like if I know who I am, I know, like, I've dated myself. I know what I like, I know what I don't, I know what I got time for, I know what I don't have time for. I know what I prefer, what I don't prefer. Because I've taken the time to really know who I am. In that process, I've given myself the grace to get to know who I am, giving myself the grace to fall and fall forward, and encouraging myself, like, okay, this doesn't work for me, but I'm not going to stay here. Let me do the work to find out what does work for me.
Hmm.
And that comes with, when you do that, you find out who you are. Because if you get in a relationship with somebody who doesn't know, if you don't know yourself, your identity will get lost in somebody else.
Right.
And
That happens
so,
all the time.
then, if this person is going off doing amazing things and you know, conquering all their dreams and goals, now you feel offended because you are lost in all of them, and
Yes.
they're not giving you their all back to you. And that's impossible for them to do because before they met you, they had dreams and goals. What happened to your dreams and goals?
Yeah. And I also think that it's like, I feel like me back in school, like if I was taken back to high school, like I feel like it was frowned upon to be confident. It was frowned upon to be, they called it stuck up.
Stuck up, cocky, all that. Yeah.
So, man, that's like, to me, that's like so powerful when you think about it, because it's like,
Or they call you difficult.
yeah, like it's almost like confident people are treated bad. Think about like Kanye West when he first came out. People thought he was the cockiest, but he was
Yeah.
just a confident man. We don't
Yes.
even recognize confidence, or we recognize confidence as bad. That is so important to really realize that we do that,
Yeah.
because to understand that that's where your mental goes when you see a confident person.
Hmm.
That tells you a lot about you
I've
and where your confidence is and how you feel about yourself.
I've been
Because they say
called.
that all the time. Like, sometimes a confident person can just bring the insecurities out of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's really important to understand. Like, it's crazy because I feel like when I was in high school and people were calling me stuck up, I changed. I became less stuck up. I had less boundaries. I had less standards because
Right.
I just didn't want to be, so I have this question here in my notes. Do you think that people appear, or do you think that people fear appearing arrogant? I think so.
Yeah. They fear
They don't want
being,
to be on a high horse like I'm better than everybody. But
or
there's
they
nothing wrong with being on a high horse. Be on your high horse.
they fear being perceived as something they're not, right? So they'll switch up. Um, I've been told that I seem like I am. I've been called stuck up before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been called arrogant, not arrogant, just like some this. cocky dude. I
Cocky.
had a girl.
That's arrogant. What's the difference?
I had a girl tell me she didn't like me because I never walked with my head down. I always walked with my head held up.
Wow.
She told me that. She was like, when I first met you, when I first seen you, didn't even meet me, just based off of looks alone. She was like, I didn't like you because you always walked around with your head held high.
Did she ever explain why that would be a dislike thing?
No, but what it told me was you don't. It told me more about her than it did
Right.
me.
She doesn't recognize a confident person as a good
But it tells
thing.
me you're not confident in you.
Right.
The reason why I don't walk with my head held down is because I know who I am and I'm confident in who I am and I'm confident in who I shall become. People who aren't like that, yeah, they walk around with their head held down. And it was and then she didn't like me until she got to know me. And then she
Yeah.
found out like, oh, he's dope. Oh, he's a very encouraging person.
Very humble. Right.
Thank you. No, I'm receiving the compliment.
Receive it, Dave.
I'm
Receive
receiving
it.
the because I have a very hard time doing that. But it just I was shocked to hear that because I'm like, well, what is it about people who walk around with their head held high makes you feel insecure?
And
Are
it's crazy because it's really, when you think about it, like I said, the whole Kanye West thing, that's such an example of the mindset, especially in our culture here, because we talking about us
right?
and how we as Black people view Kanye West. You know what I mean? Like, even watching his documentary, it's like he was just very confident. He knew who he was. He knew what he wanted. And it was just looked at as this, and it's just like, wow, like that's where our brain goes when we see a confident person. That's what does that say about our culture and our lack of self-worth in our culture, to the point where we are literally looking down on people who actually feel good about themselves. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, so do I think people fear appearing arrogant? Absolutely. Like, I know that I did. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I was a confident person until people like made me feel like I shouldn't feel confident. And then I started second guessing myself and I started questioning myself. And then that became this thing and it became a part of your lifestyle. And I think, it became a part of a lot of our lifestyles where self-worth wasn't an intentional thing. It was more so the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was cool to be stupid. It was cool to skip school.
To
It was
pretend
cool.
like you don't know. Yeah.
And that's a really dope thing that I've seen shift. Like, now in our culture, it's cool to be smart again. Like, you know what I'm saying? To be smart and intelligent. Like, I'm glad to see that shift. I just think that there is still this kind of like limitation that we put on ourselves. And I think it boils down to our self-worth. And I think it boils down to us actually living a lifestyle where self-worth is a practice, where self-worth is something that we are constantly practicing, and constantly doing, and versus, doing everything else, or everything else that's not helping our self-worth, all the self-destructing things that we're doing.
And when I tell you, when you know who you are and you get to that place of confidence and identity and come with that comes humility. Can't nobody tell
It's
you
you unstoppable.
can't nobody tell you
Can't
about
nobody
you.
tell you
When I
nothing.
tell you
That's how Kanye was.
when I tell you right now,
Uh-uh.
you can't stop me from doing this podcast.
Absolutely.
You can't stop me from starting a production company. You can't stop me from doing acting. You can't stop me from doing nothing.
But
Because
can we?
I know me and I know what I can do.
And I don't wanna, because I'm always looking at our conversations from a viewer standpoint,
Yeah.
and I don't want people to think confidence is just knowing who you are and being okay with it and going out there and just being okay with all your flaws. Because I see that too. Like, we kind of shifted to like, now we're going towards worthiness and being intentional about our worthiness, but there's also those times where I feel like we're just okay with all of our flaws and that we don't need to change anything about ourselves. Like
Ex- ex-
confidence isn't that. I feel like
no,
confidence is knowing when it's time to sit down and work on you.
yeah. Acceptance of flaws doesn't mean you don't
Want to change them.
work on them.
Right. But do you feel like
Because
there's
I
people
don't
that feel like
absolutely
they're so
because
confident in all of their flaws, like I'm just gonna do
we've
this and I'm just gonna do that, knowing that it's
one thing that
killing them
stops
slowly.
us from growing is I am who I am and that's it.
Okay.
And I'm never
And I
changing.
think people are really believing that confidence is that. Like I am
That's
who I
not
am.
that's
I am who I am.
that's not confidence.
And I'm gonna
That
do
is
this men and women thing, especially women. Especially women. I'm sorry. We really have lost this this want or this desire to gradually grow. Like it's almost like we just decided like this is what it is. I'm just gonna need a man that's just gonna mold into what he needs to be. Cause you'll have women say, I need a man that can handle my mouth. Or you can just shut up and get you a good
my
man.
God.
You know what I mean?
Or you can just shut
Or you can just shut up. Like why is the conversation, oh, I need a man to handle my mouth? That's
No.
and so you don't think that that's a
That just tells me-
confident woman?
That
You know
just
what I'm
tells
saying?
me you have no self-control. You have no
Or you're
self-control.
just you're misconstruing confidence and self-worth.
Yeah.
You're misconstruing it. You're misconstruing it to believe that I don't have to do anything. And like I said, I think this is very, very, very common in women, where we just feel like our external factors, our surroundings is going to fix us, that we don't have to be intentional about what we are giving out. So I really want to make that
And it's also,
a message.
Yeah, and I agree.
Because
it's really that
we got to
way.
stop.
It's really that way with men too. Like if we talked about this before, if you always right,
People
that's
tell
not
me
confidence.
that's me.
If she can't question you, you're not being confident. You're just being controlling.
Oh, I've been called controlling.
If you can't take constructive criticism, or if you can't be questioned, or you just got to be right all the time, you're controlling.
Mm.
Can't nobody tell you about you.
Right.
Why not?
I've been told that.
Why not? Because two things can always be true. You can be great at this and suck at this. You can be a great friend and a terrible partner.
Terrible communicator or anything.
You can be great at sharing your feelings. You can be terrible at how you share your feelings.
Ooh, that's me, 100%.
And if you get caught up in the, well, this is just how I am, you got to accept it. No, I don't have to accept it.
No, you don't.
I really don't
Who
have
says
to.
that you have to accept anything?
I don't have to accept that. What if I love you? I'm gonna challenge you.
And that's the thing. So going back to self-worth, do you love yourself enough to challenge yourself?
Yeah.
Do you love yourself enough to say, I need to change this about myself?
Right.
Because I'm not getting what I want, and I want this, and I love me, and I deserve this, so I'm going to go get it. And that means I got to do some things. I got to change some things.
Right.
And it's not, I got to just change who I'm messing with. You know?
That ain't
it.
That ain't how it works. Because
That is not
there's
how it
no
works.
way you are growing if every person who corrects you is changing. There's no way you're growing at all. That's not how growth works. If you mad at me because I told you the truth about you, then it's a you problem.
Yeah. So, forgiving yourself. I think that's a big factor in feeling self-worthiness. Is like stop beating yourself up about all your mistakes.
Yes.
And it's so like I feel like when I hate to sound super cliche, like, oh, you need to forgive yourself. Like, what does that even look like? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we were to dive deeper into forgiving yourself, what does that even look like? Is that something that you feel like you have to practice? Is that like a day where you're like, all right, I forgive myself?
No.
What does that look like, Dave? Because I don't know if I don't think I've forgiven myself yet from a lot of things.
Forgiveness from yourself for yourself means that you have grace for yourself. Forgiveness is acceptance of something went wrong.
Let's look it up.
Yeah, give me the Merriam-Webster.
The action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. That's not a real good definition.
Don't give me the word in the definition. In the definition, for me, it's releasing yourself from the mistake.
Ooh, listen. A conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or a group who has harmed you,
Yeah,
regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. Or
because
that could be yourself too.
because I know a lot of people who haven't forgiven themselves for
Decision to
placing
release feelings. Ooh, that's good.
for placing themselves in a situation that they feel like they should have known better to put themselves in. Forgiveness has nothing to do with where you've been. It has everything to do with where you are and where you want to go. But you have to want that freedom for yourself. You have to make the decision to be free.
And it's a decision. It doesn't seem like, even just reading the definition, the decision to release feelings. That sounds like a daily thing. That sounds like every day
It's
I'm deciding
absolutely
to release these feelings. Every day I'm in the process of forgiving myself.
yeah.
Forgiving yourself seems like it's a process.
It is a
It's a
process.
process that takes
It's a
time.
everyday process. Don't ever feel like you figured it out or that you made it. Then you will never stop. You'll stop growing. Don't ever feel like you've reached the point where you have gotten so good at forgiveness that you feel like in every situation that looks the same. Because
Right.
every scar heals differently.
Mm, right.
So
And some
how
scars are small, some scars are big.
yeah. And so that process to forgive is an everyday work.
Mm.
It's an everyday, hey, you know what? I did do that thing, but you know what? It's a new day. I forgive myself. I'm freeing myself from that.
And not even
The
from
thing
that,
about
but from the feelings that you get from it.
the thing about freedom is once you are free, don't go back. What we normally do, we get so scared of freedom, we go back to what we know.
Oh, absolutely.
We go back to the familiar thing
Hmm.
because that's just what we're used to. We're not used to the purpose to is not to get free. The purpose is to stay free.
Right.
To stay free means being self-aware and self-aware of your worth to know I'm too good to go back because that wasn't healthy for me. That
Whew.
didn't bring the best part out of me.
Right.
And
And I think people are scared of the best part of themselves
because
because it takes a lot of discomfort
yes, and it requires you to lose things that you're comfortable with.
that you're attached to, that you have attached to your identity. I see people all the
Yeah.
time attach horrible things to their identity.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you move forward from that? Like, how do you break that through?
Honestly, it can look like therapy. It can look like, but it all points back to you
Deciding to
deciding
release
to want
feelings.
to release those feelings.
Release those, because self-worth, what is that? It's really a feeling.
Yeah.
It's really a feeling. And how do we catch feelings? We catch feelings if we was just to look at relationships. We fall in love. We don't fall in love the same day. It's a process. It's a practice. And you're putting in work to fall in love with this person. So let's just change that and be in a relationship with yourself, and you join the process of falling in love with yourself and releasing feelings that is detrimental to your self-worth.
I heard somebody say love is not a feeling.
It's not.
And
We
it's
just
really
read the
not.
definition in the last episode. Was there feelings in that definition?
Love is not a feeling. Love is
I think it's a decision.
love is yes, it's a decision. Love is the result of certain requirements of what it is.
Mm, right.
But love is not a feeling.
I don't think it's a feeling.
Feelings are temporary.
They are.
Love is everlasting. So it can't be a feeling. If I love you unconditionally, my feelings
The conditions is the feeling.
right. My feelings don't play a factor.
Oh, that's good, because my feelings play a factor, baby. And I know they shouldn't, but they do. I just don't know how to shake that. Like, oh, you make me feel bad. Why I gotta love you still? I don't want to love you.
But
That's the discomfort that we run from that could potentially take us to a new level in life.
But loving means freedom. And I can also love you so much, I will free you of me. and I love me so much, I will free me of you. Doesn't mean I don't love you. It means I love myself enough not to have to put myself in situations or in surroundings or in toxic relationships that do me no good. Because I deserve the best version of myself,
Hmm.
and so do my loved ones.
Right.
And if I
Right.
want to be the best version of myself, the healthiest version of myself, I have to make the conscious decision not to go back to things or put myself in things that require me to not be that.
You know what's so powerful about this entire conversation for me is how a lot of the things that we want out of life are literally choices.
That's all life is. It's full of
Isn't
choices.
that crazy though? Because some
That's
people
all
can
life
feel so
is.
restricted to growth, and I think that's a part of the reason why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because I feel like we feel restricted. We feel like, okay, how do I forgive myself? It's easy for us to just sit up here and talk about it, but when you in a room by yourself and you really got to look in the mirror and you really got to face yourself, ooh, that don't feel good.
And my thing is,
But it's
who?
a choice that you can make. That's the power in
Yeah.
it. That's the dope part about it to me, is that you can really wake up in the morning and decide and just keep
Yes.
deciding. It's no different than losing weight. You just wake up, decide to go to the gym, and you keep going and you keep going. And then guess what? You start losing weight. But it's easy for us to do those things when it comes to the external self. Like, it's
Right.
easy for us. It may not be easy for everyone to get up and go to the gym,
Yeah.
but I would say that might be easier than to actually forgive yourself, to actually go through that process, to actually just make that decision and understanding that it's a process and it's a continuous decision that you have to make. Um, it might be easier to just get up and go to the gym because you're just going through the motions. But it's crazy that we don't have that restriction when it comes to getting up and going to the gym,
Right.
but we'll have that restriction mentally, that we can't get past this feeling bad. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Having the choice, having the
But
options
everything's a
is so
choice.
powerful. Yes. And that's what's so dope about life.
Your body doesn't move in a certain direction without choosing to go that direction.
Right.
Like I follow this one Dr. Caroline Leaf, who was probably the most brilliant person on the planet. She breaks down the difference between the mind and the brain. Everything starts in the mind.
Mm.
The mind tells the brain, and the brain moves the body. I can't go right until my mind tells my body to go that way. It's still a choice,
Hmm.
even if you don't even realize it.
Right. It's always a
Like
choice.
every direction you go is a choice. Everything you choose, you can choose if you're gonna have a good day today or not. And it doesn't. Yesterday was yesterday. You can choose today if you're gonna have a good day. Today gonna be a good day. I ain't gonna let nobody ruin it.
Right. That's so dope. It's so simple,
And
but it's so dope to me.
yeah,
Like, just that alone for me is just like, I just like to sit in that. You know what I mean? Just think like, wow, Jazz, you have the choice. Like, we can
yes,
talk about our trauma all day long. We can talk about all the things that went wrong. We can talk
yeah,
about all of our mistakes and why we're here. But what are we deciding to do? We
yes.
could talk about what's going to make us happy, but are we making the decisions?
And see,
Um,
it's easy for me right now. I'm a decision maker at heart. Like if we just focusing on the problem, no.
yeah,
I'm not saying disregard the problem. I think to get to a solution, you have to acknowledge the problem first.
right.
However, once the problem is acknowledged, don't stay on the problem.
We got to get away from that.
Get to the solution.
Yeah,
The solution is part of the freedom.
yeah,
So the problem is this happened yesterday. It was whack. But you know what? Today's a new day. Today's a new day. And I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna have a good
or
day.
it's a new moment. We don't even gotta wait till the morning. We can do it at 2:15. We can feel one way. At 2:30, we can listen.
Yeah.
Decisions can happen at any point in time. That's what's
Yeah.
so dope about it. That it can happen at any point in time of your life. At any point in time of your life, you can make decisions that drive you to where you're trying to get to. So I think forgiveness is very heavily heavily engraved in self-worth. That is
Yeah,
probably how it begins,
it
really.
is.
So what comes after that? I feel like accepting,
Hmm.
because you kind of have to accept the fact that you made the mistake, or you kind of have to
Right.
accept the fact that that's a part of you
Yeah,
now.
you got to accept it. It's acceptance is a part of the choice.
And again, we don't want to misconstrue acceptance with, okay, well, I'm this me.
Right.
This is just me. No, acceptance is understanding that this is me, but
It's
this is
just
where I'm trying to
it's
go.
just acknowledgement.
It's just
Like you
acknowledgement.
cannot get there unless you acknowledge you're here. But I don't want to stay here. I want to get there. So I have to make the choice every day. I got to get there. I got to get there.
So what do you think? Why do you think? First of all, do you know people who love other people way better than they love them?
Yes,
Why? Why do you think that is? How can you
because
how can you be so good at loving someone else and be so terrible at loving yourself?
we use people as distractions from us. I think we use people
And
as
I think that's true. I think
we
that's true for myself
use
if I think about it.
we use people and their problems and what they got going on to distract ourselves from the work we need to do on ourselves because it's that's just the easy thing. My question is, who told you doing the opposite is hard?
Right. It's crazy.
Who who said doing the hard thing, quote unquote hard thing was the hard thing?
Right. That's crazy.
Who convinced you that loving yourself just as much as you love somebody else is hard?
And I don't even know if it's that. I think maybe, do we see self-love? Is self-love really something that is common? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think it's more common. And then that's the thing too, like, we embrace love and relationships all day. We love
Yeah.
marriage. We love love when it comes to two people. But when someone's loving on themselves, it just doesn't hit the same. Like, does that, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's way easier for a wedding to go viral than someone actually loving themselves and showing that they love themselves. That's looked at like, she's too confident for me. Or she too, you know what I mean? Or
But
he's
that I
too
mean, and it
this and
just
too that. It just rubs us the wrong way. And I just think that's just a deep thing to think about. Like, wow.
it's just it reflects back on you.
Yeah.
It reflects always back. Life is a reflection of you.
And it's
And
also it's a beautiful thing. Because if you're able to love someone else and you love
yeah, we
someone
not
else great,
that's great.
you got the skill. All you now,
Now just point it back towards you. It doesn't take away
that's
from
it.
them.
That's it.
It doesn't take away from them. And I think that's what people get confused about is, well, if I love me too much, it'll take away from the love I can give to everybody else. That's not
It actually
true.
adds to it.
The fact that you can love them that much means you can love yourself that much.
Because
And it's already in you because that's what you're giving.
right, it's already in you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the dope part about it. So it just goes back to the decision, right? The decision to love yourself. You already know what it looks like to love. You just need to internalize that. We externalize love. Do we internalize love?
Right.
So that goes back to, like I said, I think it's strange, an example. I'll just use myself an example. A friend can call me right now and just feel horrible about themselves. And I will speak so much life into them.
Yes.
But then
But when it's
I'll
time,
sit
your
with
turn.
myself and I feel so horrible about myself. Ain't no life getting spoken to me by me. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy that we will treat ourselves that way. And I think it's
why do you
important.
think you do that?
Why do I think I don't speak life into myself? I think because I believe the things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to decide that you're worthy. You have to decide, you have to forgive yourself. Like we said, we have to accept yourself. You have to make the decisions and actually decide, like, okay, I'm worth this. I am this. But I think during the times, like I said, this is a process. This is something that you have to decide every day. So during the times where I'm feeling bad about myself, I really believe those things. So
Yeah.
how am I going to speak life into myself when I believe that these things are true about me? So
And that's where faith comes in. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. So even if you don't see it now,
you still need to believe
you
it.
still not even believe yet. Just speak it over yourself.
Right. And that's all self-worth is. When you think about it, it's the practice. It's the practice. And that's why I just think it's a good, dope conversation to have, especially when it comes to love and relationships. Because what is love and good relationships without your self-worth?
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If someone said, Nels, you are a good mother, do you believe that about yourself?
I will immediately start thinking about all the things that makes me not so much of a good mother.
But does it take away from the fact that you are a good mother?
If I sat back and thought about it in the sense of talking about self-worth, no. But I think naturally, I feel like I have to coach myself to not
So you're
think about all the
natural.
negative things. Yes, I naturally think about negative stuff.
You're naturally self-destruct, pretty much.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Are you good at taking those compliments? Like, will you genuinely accept the compliment, the truth that you are a good mother?
I think I have to practice it.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
But you are a good mother.
Thank you.
You are a great mother,
Thank you.
even if you don't believe it. You are.
Ooh, I'm holding my tongue, y'all. That is crazy.
And that's the thing. We talked about being open to receive, having that
Right.
energy to receive.
Receptive energy. Listen here.
But you are a great mother. You are a great woman.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's nothing you can say about you that will change that. There's no belief that you will believe about yourself that will change that.
Well, I received that.
The truth is that you can't change the truth. You are a good mother.
Right.
Point blank, period. No questions asked. You are a good mother. And there's nobody can say anything. Nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah.
You are a good mother. You are a good woman. And you deserve the best in life. Period.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think it's again, for me, it's a practice, right? It's something I have to be intentional about. No different than, because I mean, self-destruction, is intentional when you think about it. Like, you know what you're doing when you're doing it. Like, if you smoke cigarettes, you're not getting vitamin C from that. You know what I'm saying? So you're intentional about all the things that destruct you. I guess the conversation we're having now is to have those same intentions for self-worth.
Right.
And I guess that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at. Or
You know
where.
what? It's okay that you're there. I'm not taking away from where you are. I'm going to start doing this, and you're going to get on my nerves, but I don't care. It doesn't, where you feel like you are right now doesn't take away from where you're headed.
For sure.
Even if you don't, which is why I should probably say this offline,
It's fine.
but we here.
This is why I wanted to do this.
Which is probably, like, I know we were meant to do this podcast together, but I think if there's something more that requires us to go further,
Yeah.
that is beyond this podcast.
For sure.
I believe, and we already agreed, we play on each other's strengths.
Yes.
And I already told you, even if you don't feel confident in coming into this, I got you until you do. Even when you do,
Right.
still got you. You ain't got nothing to worry about. But I
For sure.
believe, for me personally, when it comes to you, I am here to pull out of you what you don't see yet.
I that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, because I thought about that, like, okay, how personal am I going to get on this podcast, But I'm like, that's really why I wanted to do the podcast, because I think a lot of us, we are not doing this. You know what I'm saying? We're not being honest about how we feel about ourselves. We're not sitting with ourselves and thinking like, dang, do I feel worthy? I don't know how many people will get on a podcast and say, I don't feel worthy.
Right.
I want to be that person that gets on a podcast and say that, because it's so many of us that don't feel worthy. I mean, we can look at you. I can look at you and tell that you don't feel worthy. I can see the things that you're doing to yourself and can tell that you don't feel worthy. I can see that you don't love yourself.
And that's what one of the things that breaks my heart, right? So many people can only relate to the negative parts.
Hmm.
But just because it's a negative thing doesn't mean it's not the truth,
Right,
right? However, acknowledge, like we said, acknowledgement of the truth means you can get to a different truth in the future,
right.
right? So yeah, it's really the inner work,
The
um,
lifestyle, the
and the lifestyle
practice,
and the practice and putting in that repetitive work every day, every moment.
the
When
intentionality.
like I'm at a place now, if I do feel that negative thought in my head, immediately I'm like, Dave, who are you? Right? It goes back to what my mother did when I
Mm,
was a kid.
that's good.
Like, no, Dave, you put in the work to be here. You a beast,
And
and you
then,
gonna get better.
and I know it's discouraging because, everybody don't have, like even me having you, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Or, I could say there's other people in my life that see me as well. But, there might be people who don't have that, and
No.
it could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
who have made, like I said, it goes back to forgiving yourself. Some people, like there are people who brag about not having friends. We talked about that, I think, on
Right.
another episode. It's just like, are you accepting that you're not worthy of friendship? You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like, can we change the conversation to, dang, I need good friends. What do I need to do to create that for me?
Right.
I want to end the conversations of acceptance without growth. I want to go beyond acceptance and say there's growth opportunities, for us to be better. And self-worth is heavily rooted, in our personal development and being better. You can't, what is being better without you internalizing being better?
Yeah. It
There is
all
no being
it
better
all
without the
starts
internalization.
it all starts inside of you.
Yeah.
And like you said, you have to see yourself better before you get there.
Yeah. A lot of people say that, like having vision.
You
Sometimes I feel like I lack vision, like
and you know
lack.
what? That's why God partnered you with a
Right.
visionary right now.
Exactly. I need visionaries around me. It's not about being, and I think that's another thing about being confident and having the self-worth is knowing your weaknesses.
Yes. It's
Like,
knowing
and
what you're
it's
not
not
good at.
even that let's, like, we don't have to try to be good at everything. Let's just partner with people who are good at what you're not good at. That's confidence to me. It's to sit down and be like, listen,
Like,
this
look,
ain't my
this
strength.
ain't my strength. Like, what's great about Nels and our relationship is we know what our strengths and weaknesses are. I'm not good at the small details. I'm not good at, taking notes before this podcast and making sure I got notes to talk about stuff. However, Nels does. Nels comes ready with notes. She is a researcher. That's what she does.
It
That
is.
is not my strong point. And it's honestly makes it easier to do this podcast because I'm not just on camera. I am behind the scenes
Right.
doing all
Yes.
the things.
Yes.
And so when you partner with somebody who plays on that strength and you don't have to do everything yourself,
Right.
that's what keeps this thing going. That's what's going to keep this podcast going.
And we can relate that to every aspect of your
Every
life.
aspect of life.
When
Yeah.
it comes to relationships, when you are practicing self-worth, when you are becoming confident, now you are realizing your weak points. Now you can choose your partners based on that. Are we choosing our partners based on who we are and what we need? You know what I'm saying? I think that's important to point out. Some of us, I feel like we'll choose partners that we can help
Right.
instead of partners that can help us. It
Right.
should be a trade off. Like we talk about that in real estate all the time. Like you should never approach another real estate professional and want something from them without giving something to them. You
Yes.
need to come to the table with value.
It's true.
And part of your value as a partner in a intimate relationship is your self-worth. is you knowing who you are
Knowing who
so
you
that
are.
you can choose what's going to complement that.
Yep.
So this is really good, Dave.
This was great.
Really, really, really
This is
good.
great.
Yeah, I think that's really all I had,
Yeah.
internalizing your self-worth,
Yeah.
being intentional about it.
Honestly, I'm glad we are having this conversation because for me me personally, it requires me to just go. I'm a processor anyway, so I'm gonna process this whole day
Yeah.
while I'm on the plane in about a couple hours. Um, but
They be on the move, honey.
um, I say that to say this: there is no did that really happen today. I kind of just want to keep it here, and really,
You don't want to do.
I want everybody, not just us, to all our listeners, all our viewers, process your self worth, process where you are, process how do you feel about you,
And be realistic.
and be honest with yourself.
Don't just make it based on your feelings.
Yeah,
Feelings aren't real.
and
Think about the reality of what you're doing to yourself, what you're
yeah,
allowing to happen to you. Do you love yourself based on that?
and what I want to challenge every person to do: write it down,
Yeah.
write it down, but write down where you are. On the other side, I want you to write down where you want to be, and then post it to a mirror that you look into every single day. Because that's how I got better. Somebody once told me, "Hey, post your dreams on the mirror, so when you see yourself, you see your dreams." And I'm going to
Yeah.
challenge everybody to do the same thing when it comes to seeing who you want to become. Write it down and
Oh,
post it somewhere, and so you can see who you want to become.
yeah, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that.
See who you want to become. I want to be this. This is where I am, but I want to be this person.
Right. And I've seen people
Yeah.
make identity switches, and that's exactly how they started. They started off by seeing the person first, seeing what they look like, what they dress like, how they act, how they respond to things. We can talk about it all day, but I think we do need to see it. Having an imagination is important.
And having a accountability partner
Yeah.
when it comes to your
Embrace
like
people.
I am.
We need help.
Yes, you
And
can't
people
do it
need-
on your own. You
Well,
will
you
never
can't.
identify who you are by yourself.
You can't.
You need people in your life
You do.
who will tell you, "Hey, you kind of suck." Okay.
You suck at this, you suck at that.
However, I see you better, and this is how I feel like you can be better. I have people in my life like that. This is the only reason why I am I know who I am, is because people pushed me to be here. I didn't get here by myself.
Right. That's the really,
And unofficially, this is who I am for nails.
yeah. Well, I received that
So
because the normal me would be like, "Ugh, I want to do it at my own.
yeah, but
But I know that's not possible.
that's not possible. So with that being said, I know we ended on a sort of a deep note, but it's okay. It's all right.
It's the beauty of life.
It's the beauty of life.
It really is.
Next time, it may be a little lighter. We don't know. But that's the beauty of this podcast. We do what we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
But no, but for real, I'm Dave.
I'm Jazzy.
See you next time.
Tell me how I feel.